I would like to welcome our first presenter today, Brandit of Brandit.
Thanks, guys. My name is Brandit. I am the founder and lead designer of the Brandit platform. And I first want to thank 1 Million Cups and the Kauffman Foundation for giving me this awesome opportunity to present to you guys. And I wanted to thank you guys for being here. So before I get into some of the main features of the platform, I wanted to talk a little bit about what got us started on the project. And the project really began with a realization and a couple of problems. And the realization was that in the space of building websites, the most powerful technology was going to be built with WordPress. So for those of you who don't know what WordPress is a free open source software that builds websites. It currently runs about 23% of all the websites on the internet. So it really is the most widely used tool by far for building websites. WordPress also has one of the most radical open source licenses in existence. It's called the General Public License. And what it does is it essentially guarantees that any derivative work or work that builds upon the core WordPress software has to be licensed under that same free open source license. And so what this did is it created an environment where the innovation of a single developer or a group of developers is in many ways collectively gained by the entire WordPress community. And it was this fact that there are just more people working on WordPress than any other proprietary software that led us to believe that it was just going to be more powerful than everything else. But we saw a number of problems with WordPress and with the industry as a whole for building websites. So one of the most fundamental problems with WordPress is that the dashboard is really too confusing from a design standpoint for most people to use. And then the problem with the industry as a whole, we like to kind of compare it to choosing a place to live. And we think that people are really forced to choose between two separate paths, and both paths kind of have a significant downside. So on the one hand, you can self-host your website with a company like GoDaddy or HostGator, and generally you're using a tool like WordPress to build your website. And we really compare this to kind of owning and managing an expensive home. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong, broken code and plugins and all these different things. And it really ends up that you have to kind of hire a developer to manage your website, which can be expensive. And then the other side is using one of these massive web publishing platforms like Squarespace or Weebly or Wix. And these platforms take care of the technical side of managing your website, but we kind of compare them to moving into a really renting an apartment and then not being able to get your furniture out of the apartment. Because they're built with proprietary code, that means that they really own your entire website, and you can get your text and images off, but you really can't get the design or the structure of your website off these platforms without starting from scratch. So we wanted to solve this problem with the Brandit platform, and Brandit is an open source web publishing platform that helps you easily build and A/B test stunning websites that sell a product or service. And we built it essentially by combining the best WordPress software and then redesigning it to make it really simple to use. And we also built an open source self-hosted version. So you can run this on your own server, and what it does is it makes our platform one of the only platforms that empowers its users to truly own their website, even the code. So one of the most impressive features of the Brandit platform are its page builder and its web publishing capabilities. The page builder is capable of producing some of the more advanced design elements on the web, and all of this is done on a really simple drag and drop interface that requires absolutely no coding. And we also created 3 pre-made page layouts and e-commerce configurations that are designed to help entrepreneurs or inventors or anybody that's trying to sell a product go through each phase of launching a new product to the market. So I'm going to show you guys this quick video here. So you can see I'm just selecting one of these pre-made page layouts. So the first phase is collecting pre-orders, which is a great way to test the demand of your product before it goes into production. And then the second phase is setting up a landing page to sell a single product after it's been produced. And then finally, you can build a beautiful online store to kind of grow your product line. And so all these landing pages come with a smooth scrolling feature. And we also built these social sharing buttons on the left side, and you can see they're responsive, so they look great on mobile and tablet. And we built these call to action buttons, and you can see it's the green button in the top menu there. And those are kind of designed to capture your visitors' attention and direct them to purchase your products. And so these web publishing capabilities are combined with a dashboard that's designed to help you track and test the effectiveness of your website. And so one of the most powerful features is the A/B testing feature. So for those of you who don't know what A/B testing is, it allows you to create 2 pages for the same page on your website, and then you direct half of your traffic to each page, and then you can track the conversion rates of each page and see which one is most effective and use that one as your primary page for your website. And so on our platform, you can do this in just 2 clicks, And the platform automatically tracks the conversion rates for your products, but you can also use it to track the conversion rate of things like contact forms if you need a quote, and just about anything else. So Brandit also has a statistics dashboard. It's powered by Google Analytics, and it tracks everything from top referrals and content to the bounce rate and average visit duration of your website. And one part that I'm really excited about is the designer platform. So the way it works is the only way we make revenue on the platform is by charging users who actually own a website on the network. So if you're a designer or any creative professional that works in web design, you can be a user on our platform for free. And we also built this page in your dashboard that allows you to manage all of your websites from a single page. So this is pretty much allows you to build a scalable web design business without any technical knowledge. And so we just launched an Indiegogo campaign yesterday, and that's kind of how we're centering all of our marketing efforts, and we're hoping to kind of gain traction and hopefully get a good group of beta users in our platform. So we're also reaching out to schools like the Kansas City Art Institute and the Johnson County Community College to recruit graphic and web designers. We're scheduling posts to designer networks like Behance and Dribbble, and we're doing social media marketing with Google AdWords and Facebook. And we're also creating tutorials and design materials to help people get started on our platform. So this is just to show you kind of how we plan to use the funding. So we plan to just use a small portion of what we receive to just implement the updates that we identify from our beta users. And then the vast majority of it is actually going to be used to build our final vision for the platform. So the long-term vision is to actually build a marketplace that helps people discover all the products that are published on our websites on the Brandit platform. And we kind of want to create a place where people can go, just like essentially after they successfully fund their Kickstarter campaign or anybody that's trying to launch a new product. And we want to help people identify these and discover them on our platform. So I want to thank you guys again for being here, and again want to thank the Kauffman Foundation and 1 Million Cups for giving me this opportunity. And so I will open it up to the panelists and the organizers.
Sorry, I forgot the microphone delay. Great presentation, kind of talk through the story and sort of how you're getting into market. Can you talk a little bit about, so you said you launched an Indiegogo campaign to get your beta users, and you said kind of graphic designers and visual folks are kind of your core demographic target. Can you talk about kind of what you've seen and why you think that, and also what's kind of the most compelling thing to get them on the platform, and kind of how that conversation is working for you so far?
Yeah, so we really have we kind of have three different markets that we're going for. So there's also people that use WordPress that it may be too technical for them, so we want to kind of get them on the platform as well. But really, I mean, the biggest selling point is just the fact that you actually own, that you're giving something to your client that you actually own, and the fact that there really isn't a platform that really allows you to manage all of your sites from one spot like that. And so, I mean, that's kind of the biggest thing. But, you know, we just kind of started yesterday, so it's kind of been a slow process, but we're just getting going.
And you said you charge somebody. Who do you charge and how much?
So we would charge the person that actually owns the website on the platform. So if you're a designer user, you're essentially a free user who does not own a website. And so we're thinking anywhere from $25 to $44, and that's kind of what we're talking with on our Indiegogo. So we're kind of trying to do research that way to figure out what the best pricing is. So it competes with companies like Lead Pages, and there's kind of a huge number of competitors that it competes with. And these companies charge about $50 a month. But then if you look at like Squarespace, obviously it's much lower than that. So we're thinking it's going to be somewhere in between there.
So I don't disagree with you that there is kind of that gap that exists in the market, right? The condo and then the Tom Hanks house. What was that called? That was a good picture.
Money Pit.
Yeah, Money Pit, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm concerned about is that I don't see a clear definition of that position in the market, right? And what I heard the most was that you get to own your code. So my next logical question is, okay, is that value proposition of you get to own your code actually something that we know is a problem in the marketplace, right? Because we can theoretically say, well, sure, there's a gap in the market and this is what it is, but is that something that is actually going to convince people to buy, right? Do we have you done any type of research where we've talked to a couple hundred designers and we know that yes, this is valuable to them. It's going to help them sell to their clients easier because they're owning the code. I'm just not sure that's a problem in the market.
Well, I mean, I think that anybody who's trying to build a business, especially one that scales, I mean, most everybody wants to have complete control of their website. It's one of the most important parts of their business. So, I mean, really, I think that people aren't aware of it right now because there really isn't that many people talking about it. So when you sign up for Squarespace, you're pretty much locked in. But I do think that being able to have complete control of your website is actually really important. It's going to be important to the business owners. It's just a matter of showing them that and helping them see that. But you know, I've talked to a number of designers and people who have tried to do it, tried to get these sites off of these platforms, and it's generally nearly impossible. They almost always have to start over. So I haven't done research, you know, I haven't done like a survey of several hundred people, but I have talked to a lot of people who have identified this problem. That's kind of what led me down this path.
So I think it's a known problem at the bottom of the market, right? Like if you stop paying us, we own your website,
Yes.
type of a thing, right? But on the other side, you know, the developers and designers you're talking about, WordPress does not have a very high learning curve, right? It's pretty easy to understand it. So then the counter you were saying is, well, you know, this is a simple platform. Well, the designers don't necessarily need a simple platform, do they?
Well, I did personally. I mean, so you know, I started out basically everything I did was in Photoshop and Illustrator, and it was really this page builder that kind of took my work completely to the web. And so that was really what got me started on this. And you know, the design of WordPress is not standardized. So every time you add different functionality to your site, it completely changes your dashboard. And I think that's really confusing, and especially for somebody who, let's say, somebody who just graduated from as a graphic designer or web designer, they kind of have to start from scratch to learn all these different things. I mean, how the plugins interact, all these things that can really become a challenge for somebody. And so that's why you almost always need a team when you're running a web development business. But this literally takes the team out of the equation.
Sure. Okay. I don't disagree with that. Good answer. So the other problem I think you might be facing when it comes to the market is that great brands own a concept in the mind, right? And so when you say simple web dev platform, most people say WordPress. Mm-hmm. And if you say A/B testing, most people are going to say maybe like Unbounce, right? So you're in a hyper-crowded space because of the scalability of what you're doing in the industry. Mm-hmm. How do you plan on separating yourself from these established businesses that already have humongous market share and already have usability that's in the millions? How do you plan on disrupting that in order to be successful given the crowded market?
Well, you know, so all these different platforms that you mentioned, they really focus on only one part of what this platform has. So things like Unbounce, they're more focused on conversion, but the web publishing capabilities really aren't that great, and it really can't produce the designs that you can create on this platform. And then, you know, so we really tried to combine all of these features, kind of the best features of a lot of these platforms, and we built it with WordPress, which is something that everybody's familiar with. I mean, obviously, it's the most widely used tool on the internet, so people who you know, may have gone towards WordPress initially, may want to choose this platform because it manages everything for them and it gives them the option to go to both ways, so either self-host or to use our fully hosted platform. I don't know if
Can I take half a step back? What's your goal for your business? I mean, a lot of the questions Grant and I are asking are more about, is this scalable? Is this a growth startup? That kind of thing. Can you spend, you know, a little bit of time talking about where you see this is going, and do you see, you know, in a year, in 3 years, what does your kind of ideal outcome look like? And then a lot of this discussion is then tailored around that, because as the entrepreneur, you actually get to decide, why am I doing this and where do I want to go? And then we can probably be the most helpful, because I see a couple different directions this can go. But that answer is probably going to really temper both of our feedback here, because we're attacking it. Is this, you know, capital grade money? Is it going to scale? Is it going to capture market share from some of the big players, that kind of thing? But talk to us about, where do you want it to go?
Well, you know, I mean, ultimately, I think anybody who is trying to build something is ultimately trying to serve the people that they're building it for. So I really built this just to build a tool that I would want to use. I mean, you know, I've worked with WordPress and I've worked with all these other platforms, and there really wasn't something that could kind of solve both of these problems that I mentioned and kind of fill that gap that we talked about. And so, I mean, the ultimate goal is to build a platform that empowers people to truly own their website, to kind of have tools that help them test the effectiveness of selling their products, and then eventually to build that marketplace that helps people discover these products. So to kind of be the platform that everyone goes to when they're trying to bring a new product to the market, because it provides the tool sets that any real business is going to be using. I mean, most real businesses are not going to be using a platform like Squarespace to run their business from. I would say the vast majority of businesses want to run it on an open source tool like WordPress. And so that's kind of the long-term vision, is really just to help people like you guys, entrepreneurs, anybody who is trying to bring a new product to the market.
And I think you're taking great steps in that direction by going out and trying to find other yous and getting them involved and getting feedback through Indiegogo. So I wish you a lot of success, and I think kind of that's the right path. But figuring out whether that's 1,000 users or 100,000 users or 70% of the marketplace is super important. Is going to inform a lot of these decisions that you make here in the next year or two. So good luck.
Thank you.
We would like to
Thank you,
open up the questions to the audience. So if you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll come around with a mic.
And we've got one way in the back first.
Hey, how you doing? Great product.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So as being a developer and a programmer in multiple languages and using a bunch of CMSs, when you say you're going to take the existing products, are you going to take the products from like my website that I'm trying to sell and put it in your marketplace? Or are you going to take existing code and architecture for clients like everyone in this room to use and better build their website more effectively and easier?
So there's really two different directions for the marketplace. So we do want to actually open it up to developers to create kind of an add-on marketplace that extends the functionality of our platform. And that's one advantage, obviously, of building with open source code, is that we can leverage, all of the technology that people are building with WordPress. And so that's one option. But the other thing, so the way the marketplace will work for the normal WordPress users trying to sell their product, it's basically just like submitting a product. So there'll just be in the dashboard there'll just be a little thing that says marketplace, and you can submit your products through there. And then those will link them back to their pages.
Question in the front.
Being a web designer who used to do code and now relies on WordPress, there is a user friendliness that isn't in WordPress because it was originally built to be a blog. So there's a lot of add-on features that can get complex on the dashboard. So this is going to, are you selling this as a more user-friendly platform? And then also, why are you not looking at reaching out to AIGA, some of the local graphic design association, UX, the User Experience Professional Association, Kansas City Exchange, Freelance Exchange?
Those are all great ideas, and I think we definitely will. I might come to you afterwards, get the full list from you. So I spent probably almost a month just really working to try to make WordPress much more simple than it is. So absolutely, I mean, that was one of the core efforts that I spent, was just trying to eliminate all this, just like you said, all these excess features that you kind of run into when you're trying to build a WordPress site. So that's absolutely my goal, is to really simplify the design of WordPress. And for me, this page builder and using a page builder for me was much simpler. I could actually understand how my website's built. I could understand where my homepage was, and all these different features like that. So yeah, absolutely, I'm trying to make it much simpler, much more easy to use for anyone.
I have another question in the back.
Great presentation. I like your product. I'm also owner of a web and software development company. My question to you is, where do you see the value as far as hiring or having someone actually do the design and development that really knows what they're doing? One of the things that I find with people that try to design their own websites is they do not have the eye for the design. I should say don't, but they may not have the eye for the design, and oftentimes, even though they're trying to do a website at a little less expense, it shows, and it may reflect in their business and how well their business does. How does your product here address that?
So that was one of the main motivations behind the designer platform, was to get a bunch of designers on there that can help people who are trying to sell products get their sites built. But we also want to, we're also working to create kind of pre-made design materials. So a lot of those landing pages that you saw, those start looking that way. And I think for me, the easiest way for people who maybe don't have the funding to kind of go out and hire a web designer is to work backwards. And so on one side, we want to create all these different pre-made designs in our page builder that allow people to work backwards, similar to a template, but the difference is that it's actually completely customizable, so you can drag and drop everything. Everything's movable. And on the other side, we want to get as many designers as possible on our free designer platform to help those people if they do need the design service to build their website. Thanks.
Question in the center.
Hi, I think what you're doing is going to be very exciting, but what my question is a little bit on when you're talking about owning the code.
Yep.
So with WordPress, I download the WordPress thing, I host the WordPress on some site that I own the code. Could you explain to me how it's different, where if I come to your company and I use your service, whether it's using your monthly service, what happens when I stop paying the monthly service? Do I lose said code? And how is it different? How is what you're doing different than downloading WordPress and running it on my own private server?
What you're describing, so self-hosting your own website, like we mentioned, it has all those kind of problems that can pop up. So that was the main focus, was to build a platform that kind of manages all that for you. But we're planning, so as soon as we want to do a year of updates after your last payment on our platform. And so that's kind of how we're doing the self-hosted version. So we actually build in the ability to update the code on your own server. So we want to do a year after you stop, but the real choice is just, deciding whether you are capable of managing your own site yourself or using our fully hosted platform to manage it for you and to kind of take care of all that. But the difference is that, you can have your site start out on our fully hosted platform and then move everything over to your own server once you're ready. And so really to kind of use it as a transition between being somebody who is fully up to speed on WordPress and somebody who needs help managing everything.
Got another question in the back.
Hi, I love your product. My main question is, how are you different from PageCloud, which is your main competitor where they already have a marketplace? And with PageCloud, they can do PSC drag and drops. They're mobile-friendly, e-commerce, also A/B testing. So how are you different from what they already have right now?
I haven't heard of PageCloud, so I'll have to check it out. I'll have to check it out and maybe get back to you. If you come to me and give me your email, I'd love to respond. I do not know PageCloud yet.
Got one in up front.
Hey, so I've been competing in this market for about 9 years, so I can personally attest to how crowded it is. So the more you can focus on a niche or how you're different is incredibly important. But I'm curious, how much thought have you given, this is again from my personal experience, to actually running the business part of it? Because I know it's so easy to focus on the tool. Have you given a lot of thought to finding mentors, other organizations to help you really think about the business side of it outside of the tech?
I don't have any mentors yet, and just like you said, I was pretty much with my head down working on the product up until about a month ago, and then we kind of did just a soft, tried to get a few users in there before we launched our crowdfunding campaign. So I really haven't, and there's definitely, it's definitely time to start doing that for sure. So I think that's a great thought.
Question, back left.
Yeah, good presentation, Brandon. And the last question, centered on working on the business rather than working in the business. I'd like to know your story and why you decided to become an entrepreneur and how you can help entrepreneurs, why you think you can help entrepreneurs.
So I actually started, before I started building the Brandit platform, I actually started working on developing marketplace systems. And so that's kind of what got me started on this path. And I really kind of fell in love with user interface design during that time. And so that really got me started just basically trying to design and build software. And I just fell in love with it. I would say the biggest thing is that it was really this ability. I think it's because I am not a very technical person. It takes me a long time to learn things. I really have to try hard to learn. It took me a long time to learn WordPress and all the tools that I needed to learn to build this. And so it was that kind of gives me an advantage to create tools that are simple to use for people. Because if it is too complex, then I won't understand it. And that's why I kind of struggled with a lot of the other services out there to do what I'm trying to do with this platform. And so I think that is probably my biggest advantage, is that it just takes me a long time to learn, and I have to create tools that are easy to use in order for me to use them.
Got another question in the back.
My question's kind of similar to someone up front, if I remember. I used to do a lot of hard coding, and I preferred it because I could do everything exactly how I wanted it. But I came to WordPress because I realized that no matter what, there's things that they can do that it took so many designers so much time to produce. And that comes into with all the different plugins and everything.
Yep.
And I love it. And so now that's what I do. And so that's where my question to you is, are you going to enable any sort of thing, or is it just purely what you get is your product and it is what it is?
And can you elaborate? So when you say enable, do you mean enable developers to work on the platform as well?
Well, for instance, like SEO Yoast.
Yes.
Could I get that with your product, or things like it?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that will be possible later down the road. I mean, obviously, it'll be required that everything that is submitted to us has to be vetted to make sure that it won't break our platform. But absolutely, and like I said, so our hope is to actually open it up to developers who are working in WordPress, and to kind of give them the ability to add, submit their plugins as an add-on to our platform, as a premium add-on. So all those plugins that you see, you could essentially pay $10 to add additional SEO to our platform. Yes.
All right, we are going to stop the questions. Braden, you'll be available to the side here after. Thank you so much. But before I let you go, what can we as a community do for you?
So the biggest thing is just to talk to anybody who is a designer or who's just graduating from design school. I would love to talk to them and try to get them in our platform to figure out where their pain points are. And the other thing is really just going through our messaging and our landing page. And if there is something that you guys see that doesn't make sense or kind of stops you and saying, well, I really wouldn't try this thing because it's too confusing, or whatever it is, that information is unbelievably valuable to me, especially from your guys' perspective.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you,
Let's
guys.
hear it for Braden. All right. So